You are in the Community Science Tools for Learning and Support breakout section. Thank you for joining us here today. My name is Melissa Graham, and I'm the lead of the Rubin Community Science team. You're going to be hearing from me and several members of our team today about the various resources we have to support science with Rubin. Just to start out, the usual reminder that we do have a code of conduct and that we have contacts in case you need them. Remember to wear a mask if you want to, and keep an eye out for those social battery pins. Our Zoom participants, if you could stay muted unless we call on you to unmute to ask a question. And as always, questions can go into the Slack channel session. All right, so here's a picture of the current members of the community science team. A lot of them are at this meeting. You should feel free anytime to just talk to one at any of the breaks, ask them what they work on for Rubin. They'll be happy to tell you. We cover all of the main science pillars for Rubin and its LSST. And we also have experts in things like documentation, citizen science, and research inclusion, in addition to covering the main science pillars. Our team, what we do is we really focus on everything user-facing. So that's documentation, tutorials, live engagement events, and issue resolution, following up on issues that are reported by you and helping users to use the Rubin data products and services. So today we're going to start with just a welcome and an overview of what all those resources are that are available for you now and where to find them. Then we'll have a 20-minute demo of how to query and retrieve data using the Rubin Science Platform. And we'll have a 20-minute demo of how to use the Rubin Community Forum, which is our main venue for help and support, and it's where you go to ask questions. So I'll show you exactly how to do that. Then we'll have 20 minutes of open Q&A. That's where we kind of want to hear what resources are working for you, what doesn't quite serve your needs, what you've seen other people do that was useful to you, literally anything that'll help us help you better is what we want to hear in the Q&A. All right, so Rubin Community Science is a term that we use a lot, but who is the science community? That's just a sort of a blanket term we use to mean everyone who's using the LSST data products. It definitely includes students who are learning and who are using Rubin Observatory to learn about astronomy. The term science community, it's not even restricted to data rights holders. It's not restricted to just science collaboration members, not DB0 delegates. It includes all of these things. So anyone who's planning to do anything like science with any of the Rubin data, you're a member of the science community. So it's not restricted to data rights holders, but some things are. Some of the data is proprietary to data rights holders, and so is the Rubin Science Platform. I'll discuss that over the next slides. This is a chart that I think you saw in another talk, I think on the Monday plenary, of the number of Rubin Science Platform accounts over time. So you can see we are now sort of steadily growing with lots of people setting up their accounts and getting ready for Rubin data. And that will continue. I think that curve's just gonna have a big jump when Data Preview 1 comes. So I mentioned data rights, and I just wanted to be clear that the data rights holders are scientists and students who are working at or enrolled in US and Chilean institutes, and data rights holders also includes named members of the international in-kind contribution teams. So that's the definition of data rights holder. Only Rubin data rights holders can access proprietary data and services. And there's a list of international data rights holders that exists on the internet. And when I say proprietary, I'm referring to the annual data release data products, which are images and catalogs, and the prompt processed images, the images that are processed in real time, and access to the Rubin Science Platform. That is all available only to data rights holders. And then the things that are public are the alert catalogs, the alert packets, what we call the prompt catalogs, which is the same data as goes out in an alert packet, but just saved in catalogs. And then all the other data after 2 years is public or post-proprietary after 2 years. And then, of course, also all of our documentation and support resources in the community forum, all of that is available publicly. So you don't have to be a data rights holder to access any of that. If you are from sort of another country where maybe you have data rights, but your other colleagues at your institute don't, there are lots of ways that you can participate in Rubin Science with people who don't have data rights. You can do time domain science with the public data products like alerts, use brokers. There are at least 4 LSST science collaborations that don't require data rights to join. So you can join and work with people on Rubin Science in those science collaborations. There's also the possibility that the Rubin data policy goes into more detail, like how many objects can you share with someone. So if you have done some processing on the proprietary data sets and catalogs, and now you have a subset of objects that you want to follow up and get spectra for, there are limits, but you can share those with a colleague who maybe has access to a spectrograph. And if they don't have data rights, that's okay. They go off, they get some other data for the objects, bring it back, and then you can work together. So there are allowances for sharing small amounts of data in order to work with non-data rights holders. And then if you're a teacher, there's going to be publicly available data for EPO, and of course the post-proprietary data after 2 years. You should be able to access it probably through the Canadian Astronomical Data Center and do it that way. Just in case you're listening and you're without data rights, there are options. All right, this is a list of sort of the 6 main resources for community science that we have. One of them is Data Preview 0, which is simulated LSST-like data products. And we're going to go into more depths on all these things, but this is just the overview. So we have simulated data products available. They're available through the Rubin Science Platform, which has various aspects for access to the data, like Jupyter Notebooks, a portal access like a GUI, and API for remote access that already exists as well. All of these things have lots of documentation, website, user guides, technical reports. We're going to show you how to find them. There's lots of tutorials for figuring out how to use all of these resources. And we're regularly giving user support. So we're going to show you how to ask questions, report bugs, get help with your scientific analyses from Rubin staff. And we also run a lot of live events. The workshop is one of them, but we also do things on a weekly time scale. We have lots of drop-in sessions, lots of virtual tutorials, and then we have our Rubin Data Academy at least every summer, which is like an intensive event to learn how to use Rubin data, and also this workshop. So those are kind of the six items that we list under resources for community science. And now we're going to hear from 3 different members of the community science team speak to 2 of those things each, starting with Douglas.
Okay. Pardon me. So thank you, Melissa. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about Data Preview 0. So, so Data Preview 0 is a simulated LSST-like data set, because of simulated LSST-like data sets to enable preparations for the first releases of real data. We have the web address. You go to, it's just easy, dp0.lsst.io for a lot of more information on how to access it, and more about the data set. Currently, there are 2 data sets that we provide. There is a DP 0.2, which is reprocessed images from the Dark Energy Science Collaboration Data Challenge 2. And this has been out for a couple of years. It uses the old baseline strategy, but it's still pretty close to what it's a delta on what we're using now, or minus delta, I guess. It as stars, galaxies, clusters, large-scale structure, variable stars, and type 1a supernova, as single epoch or direct images, difference images, and co-added images. And it includes also the associated catalogs and survey property maps. And as we see here, we have basically the sky area, and it's broken up into broken into co-add tracks here, and the tracks themselves are broken up in even further into patches. And we look at one of the tracks here, and you zoom in. It looks kind of nifty, and you zoom in further, and you have a nice fuzzy galaxy there. So it looks very nice. In addition, as of last summer, we now provide a solar system catalogs in DP 0.3, and there's a slightly different way of accessing them. It's more or less the same. There's some minor differences, but it's an all sky catalog with 1 and 10-year catalogs for the solar system. Contains all solar system populations, and it even includes, I think, 4 interstellar objects for you to kind of hunt down. It contains photometry and astrometry for detections, as phase curves and orbital parameters. It does not, however, have rotation curves or outburst events. And here we see a standard solar system plot of eccentricity versus semi-major axis for the various solar system objects. And we also, looks like currently around April or May of 2025, we'll also be serving up data preview 1, which the current understanding is to be composed of ComCam data, which is a single raft, 9 CCDs, with various data from initial data from the telescope, but with the commissioning camera. And let's see. Okay, the goal is not necessarily to grab all the data and bring it down to your laptop and do stuff with it, but bring your analysis to where the data sit, because it's gonna be a whole lot of data. Our idea is next to the data analysis, and so this is achieved using the Rubin Science Platform, or RSP, as a set of integrated web-based applications and services running at the Rubin Observatory Data Access Centers, or DACs. We provide things through three main methods: a portal aspect, which allows exploratory analysis and a visualization of the Rubin archive; a notebook aspect using Jupyter notebooks, which can do in-depth next to the data analysis and creation of value-add products. And there's an API aspect, in which, say, if you want to do some limited queries to the Rubin data center from like NORLab, Data Lab, or if it is TopCat, you can access the data that way. The RSP will include tools to query, visualize, subset, and analyze the full LSST data archives in a stable software environment located next to the data, along with storage space, compute resources, and remote access options. And I'm not sure, should I ask for questions, or?
Let's do questions at the end of the three speakers.
All right, now, most importantly now is a very essential aspect of this is the documentation, and Tina will tell you about that. Okay.
Thank you. All right, hi, I'm Tina. I am one of the documentation specialists we have on the team. And we have a lot of data for scientists and students to access. We also have a very robust documentation system for people to use. The ones we're going to highlight here today is the For Scientists website, which has a lot of information on news and events and general information. We also have extensive technical documentation with data releases, technical reports, and user guides. The RSP aspects that Douglas just described, we have tutorials on how to use and access all of those features. And then in the future, we will also be discussing journal articles. So for the For Scientists website, you can see it here. From the landing page, you should be able to get most current resources for scientists, and it should be just a couple of clicks away. So we tried to make this really easy for you to use. We have a sidebar here with lots of information for you to click on. Some of it will be changing though a little bit. We are doing a refresh. So by the beginning of next year, we should have a new pretty website for you. One of the most important things on here is the news and events. That's where we advertise all of our upcoming events. So that's a good thing to look for. We also have lots of documentation for the technical and user guides. Here is a list of our popular ones with the LSST pipeline descriptions, the Rubin Science Platform, and of course, Data Preview 0, all the documentation for that. When we have Data Preview 1, we'll have a new website associated with that. It's pretty easy to go in with the search bar and just find the information. As you can see, we have data preview 0.2 and 0.3 documentation. They're separate because they're slightly separate simulations. And then finally, as I mentioned earlier, we have tutorials for how to access all of this data. They're step-by-step user executable demonstrations for scientific analysis. We did create a standard RTN 045 where all of our tutorials do meet those standards. Let's see, we have them for 02 and 03. And as I said before, they're for all aspects. So for the portal, notebook, and API, we also have some command line tutorials, some other things. They go from beginner to immediate to advanced. And we do actually have a few tutorials in Spanish, which is very nice. These are going to evolve and change. Here's a nice list of sort of the different topics we have: data access and retrieval, image display and cutouts, etc. So they're pretty extensive. There's lots of them on there. And if you come to any of the weekly events, we will be presenting a lot of this information. If you go on the off weeks where there's not a presentation, we actually have people who will work with you as well. That's all I have. Next, we have Greg, who's going to talk about user support.
All right, thank you very much, Tina. So far we've been talking a little bit about the one-way street from us to you, but I think that it's really important for you to know that there is a way for us to hear what you have to tell us, to comment. And we're using that, we're using the feature called community.lsst.org, which is basically, as it's written here on the screen, scalable and sustainable support infrastructure that enables the crowd-sourced solution. So the idea here is to provide the information, to make an account, provide the information or questions to us, which we then can answer. And they're not going to be lost at that point, but they will be actually staying there for future people to be able to ask the same questions. So that happens via this interface called, again, as I mentioned, Community Forum, and there are a variety of different aspects there. So what happens when you post a question into Community Forum as a new topic? That in a support category, which is what I mentioned earlier, at least at minimum, one person from the community science team will, who is designated watcher of this particular forum, will every week will see the post within at least 24 hours. And then anybody can reply to the topic thread, and then the solutions with clarifications can be posted there. So this is, in a sense, you can think of this as the crowdsourced solutions. So if somebody else says, oh, I have a very similar problem, but with slightly different twist, we'll be able to reply to that as well. So the idea here is to really have a very solid, very robust repository that will last for the duration of the mission. So you can go back and check this. So this is an example of this one of the reply posts. Okay, so this is one aspect for communication with you. Another one is the live events. I think that was alluded already by both Tina and Douglas, but I think that the important part is that once every 2 weeks, we have a Rubin Science Assembly where we present some of the new tutorial or maybe some kind of presentation of a notebook that perhaps was developed by one of the delegates or anything like this. And then on off weeks, every other Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific time, we'll have a special drop-in Q&A session where we will be present and we'll be listening to your questions. We'll potentially walk through with you maybe something that was unclear for you and so on and so forth. And again, the scheduling and recordings are at dt0.lsst.io. So I should mention that the previous assemblies with presentations of tutorials will be recorded, and those recordings are available. You have to click on one of those little purple bits, and you'll be able to listen to this. In addition to that, something that is close and dear to my heart, because I was one of the co-organizers of this year, is Rubin Data Academy. So once a year, and possibly more often, we are not sure yet, we have this sort of fairly intense set of assemblies, I think about it this way. And this is basically a 1 full week worth of presentations that we walk through individual tutorials. And we actually spent a fair amount of time having open sessions some kind of collaborative sessions or sessions for Q&A, so you can actually develop more in-depth knowledge of the kind of stuff that we are presenting to you. And they will have by the way, the Data Academy, as well as the assemblies, the presentations are usually done live. So it's not something being read by somebody, but the person actually goes through and does that and encourages you to log into Rubin Data Academy and follow through step by step on your own, because that's the best way for you to actually see where there might be stumbling blocks. And in fact, it's very important for us that you report to us where you had those stumbling blocks, so we could potentially now go back and try to improve, fix, whatever. Okay, and then the Rubin Community Workshop, that's hybrid, you're here. So this happens for roughly 1 week, once a year. That's not absolutely certain that it's not gonna be more often, probably not less often. I think that once the data torrent hits us, I think we'll be very busy to be doing this. Okay, so again, how to actually benefit from those live events. So you can actually click on watch for the community forum, and you will actually get some specific aspects being sent to you. And then the list of the upcoming events are on the bottom list here. And I think at this point, maybe I should stop for questions. And if there are no questions, I don't know if there's anything online.
Oh, yeah, well, we will pause for a few questions for any of the first set of speakers. Let's give them a round of applause. Oh, wait, let's just pause for a second. Don't run away super fast.
Okay.
Yeah, just in case there's any questions about documentation or tutorials or our live events. Yeah, go ahead.
How do you set up an RSP account? Where do you go?
Yes, you start at dp0.lsst.io, which came up in one of this past slides.
I think in Tina's.
No, I think
Go
one
back
slide
a
up,
little.
go one slide back. Okay, one more. There you go.
Other.
Yeah, dp0.lsst.io is kind of the home for getting to pretty much everything.
And what you'll see right at the top of that page, something that says getting started. It'll take you right through it.
We people who are slow, that's wonderful. We're too old.
Never too old. Yeah.
But you are essential for us because we need to hear from you about things like this.
Checking in the Zoom. I don't see any hands raised.
But there's one across the room.
Oh, then we will come back into the room. Yep.
Yes, so
Can you please come
Oh.
to this side because the microphones on this side are live?
I have previously used the desk Cosmo DC2 catalog. I access the data from the desk data portal. So is it within the RSP? Because I didn't go to RSP then to access so I'm a bit confused.
Yes.
What is the connection?
Right. Data preview 0.2 was created by the desk, and they have their own version. So they have their own truth tables, they have their own version of the processing, and they some of the data products they even store differently. So how you access the desk versions of the same simulated set could be quite different. So if you're a desk member and you use NERSC,
Yeah.
that's fine. That's good. You're not necessarily missing out on anything. That's a fine way to
Okay,
access.
so which means that through RSP, even if a person is not a desk member, can access the EC2.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes.
Yep.
Also, can you please elaborate a bit about the sharing part too with the non-data right holder, the data sharing part?
Yeah.
It was not clear for me how it works.
Yeah, I mentioned it only quite briefly. Let's see, we'll go back to here. Yeah, so the sharing part, here I would recommend the Rubin data policy is available at ls.st/RDO013. And that's where you'll find like this, you can share this many objects, but the number is not final. There you'll find more details about sharing. Yeah, so better to go there, and then let me know if you have questions on it.
Thank you.
Okay. Agree.
I want to clarify something about the relationship between the desk DC2 and DP 0.2.
Sure.
The names themselves facilitate confusion because they're so similar sounding. So we're very grateful to the desk for contributing the simulated data that was DC2. And then as Melissa said, but I kind of want to just like kind of like put an exclamation mark on that. Desk did its own processing with a different version of the Rubin pipelines of those images. So the data that are available at NERSC are from a desk processing of the desk simulations. The data that are available in DP 0.2, not as differentiated from DP 0.1, in DP 0.2 were a Rubin pipelines group exercise to process that data for the purposes of DP 0.1. So I don't believe that like the object catalogs are the same.
Did not the DP 0.2 processing go back to desk and is also served?
I don't
in
know
NERSC?
if it's also available there, but the main data set that was at NERSC, I think is the independently processed one, I
Okay.
believe. I mean, maybe is there somebody who knows even more about this than me in the room, but I'll take an action to go double check that.
Yeah, because I
What's
had
the right
thought-
forum to get that answer back after the meeting to people?
Oh, probably back in this Slack channel for this meeting.
Okay,
since it was
because this is the Slack is ephemeral, of course, right? It's not, it
Should we
Yeah.
doesn't
post
go
it
away
in
in 2
community
weeks or
maybe?
whatever.
not on community, but in a way it doesn't, it kind of only matters to desk people what they
Yeah,
can access
yeah,
with
yeah,
desk resources.
yeah,
But I
fair enough.
thought the Rubin processing was sent back so that they could compare DP 0.2 and 1.
I'm not sure how it's available at NERSC, actually,
Yeah.
and whether the old one is, yeah. Well, so I'll follow up on that.
Yeah, there's
I'll
yeah,
ask Jim. I think we'll get an answer.
ask Jim Chang.
on that.
Yeah, that's a
Okay.
good practice. All right, we've got a hand up online. Go ahead, meet and unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, hi. I wanted to know if it's possible for a person who is not a part of any data rights holding institution to get the data rights for the Rubin Science platform. Is that possible?
Yeah, so the way it works is so if you don't have data rights already, then you are not within the US and Chile, you're at another country. Various countries have their own in-kind programs, so they make certain contributions to Rubin in return for a certain number of data rights holders spots. And so you have to join that team and be allocated one of their spots in order to have Rubin data rights. So if we know what country you're from, we can point you to where to go
Yeah.
to find out.
Yeah, I'm from India.
Okay, you're from India. In that case, just hold on one second. I'll put the link right into the chat of the internet. So actually, where you want to go is, it's here.
Oh, yeah.
lsst.org/scientists/international data rights holders list. So you can go there and you can see everyone in India who already has data rights. And then you can reach out and contact them and ask them how they got their data rights and if there's more space.
Yeah, there are multiple
I'll do that.
institutions in India that have data rights.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't get what you said, the last sentence, sorry.
There are multiple institutions in India that you could go through to get data rights, but you will see that at that list.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Last call. All right, we're gonna move on and Jeff is going to give you a little demo of how to use the Rubin Science Platform. So a little bit of a peek at the notebook aspect and the portal aspect. You probably want to use your own laptop.
Yeah, I'll probably take you over the Zoom.
It should be good. Should be good to go.
Oops. Here, all right. Okay. I apologize that what it said on the very last slide is not exactly true. It might be hard for you to follow along because I'm going to go sort of fast because we only have a little bit of time. But I wanted to at least give you a flavor of what you can do. And then, you know, on your own time, you can go through the tutorials in more detail. But if you're really quick, you might be able to follow along too. I'm not sure if you can see the URL at the top here, but to go to the Rubin Science Platform, the RSP, you go to data.lsst.cloud. If you have an account, you will go to the upper right here and log in. I'm already logged in just to save us time, but it'll ask you to log in. And then you'll see these 3 boxes across the middle for the portal, the notebook, and the API aspect. We call these aspects of the science platform. So I'm going to show you first. I'm just going to right-click on the portal. Clicking on the big box will open it for you. So I right-clicked on that, and it took me to here. Here's what the portal looks like. So you see some options here at first, but I'm going to click at the very top where it says DP 0.2 catalogs. We're just going to do a quick catalog query just to show you how this works, and it will take you to this query form. So we're going to do oh no, let's see. Maybe I won't make up a coordinate. I'll use the recommended one. So you can see right below the box here, it gives you an example. That one I know is in the DP0 data set. So if we do put that position, this is just an RA deck position, and then we go to the box below and we select a radius. You can see it defaulted to 10 arc seconds. I'm going to do bigger than 10 arc seconds. Let's say, I don't know, 1/4 of a degree. So you can change that radius that you want to search. And then the last thing you'll want to do is here, there's an overwhelming number of columns that you can select from the data set. It's 991 columns. I know what is in there and I know what I want to select. So I'm just going to do this really quick, but we're going to select the RA deck coordinates, and then you'll see I can click in this box for the name column and type PSF flux and hit enter, and it'll bring up all of the columns that have PSF flux in the column name. So I'm just going to select G and I band PSF flux, and then I'm going to do 2 other things, and these you'll see in our tutorials guidance about what this means. But I'm going to do this detect is primary, and I'm going to give it a constraint here by saying =1, meaning true. And this just basically selects unique detections that are unique good detections. So I'm gonna add that, and then I'm gonna do one more thing. Again, this is a bit of a whirlwind, but I'm gonna use this ref extendedness. This is basically what you can use to pick samples of extended objects, meaning galaxies, versus point sources like stars. So if I say ref extendedness =0, that means it is false, it is not extended, therefore it's a point source, theoretically. Then it should give me back only things that look like stars. So I'm going to create a color magnitude diagram of stars in this region of sky. And now once I've selected all those, you can see in the very bottom left, there's a search button. And you can note that you can change the row limit. Right now it's limiting at 50,000. I don't think, since I only did 1/4 degree, I don't think it'll be 50,000, but we shall see. Okay, and then it will take you to this display. And so you can't tell because there are so many sources, but those are basically highlighting the sources on an image of the sky in the left panel. And then this just by default plots the first 2 columns of your table. And then you see a table down below. So I had said I want to plot a color magnitude diagram, but you may have noticed that what we grabbed from the table is fluxes in nanojanskis. So we need to calculate magnitude from those. I'm going to do it in a little bit sneaky way and just do it directly when I do the plotting. So if you go click the thing that looks like a gear in the upper right of that chart, that will pop up the chart options to modify the plot that we have here. And then this one, I apologize for doing this on the fly. This might be hard to follow, but Okay, that, what I want is G minus I magnitude. So I'll go back to the beginning here. So we're just using minus 2.5 times the log of the G flux and then minus the same quantity for the I flux. So minus 2.5 times log 10 I PSF flux. And then for the magnitude, we want I magnitude. So this time minus 2.5 times log 10 I PSF flux. In this case, we need to 31.4, right? Yeah. We need to convert to AB mags. In this case, up here, the 31.4 part canceled out. But here we go, minus 2.5 log 10 flux plus 31. You can ask me about the conversion from nanojansky's and nanojansky flux to AB magnitude afterward. But that's what all that's doing. And then I'm going to click this chart options drop down here because I want magnitudes to be plotted brighter towards the top. So I'm going to reverse the y-axis by clicking that button that says reverse. And I'm going to quick add a Y label, IMAG, and an X label that says GMAG minus IMAG, and click apply at the bottom, and you see a plot that looks kind of funny because it has all of the really, like, I didn't do any signal to noise cuts. So this is all just super faint noise. So we can click on the button that has a plus there. You can see when I hover over it, it says this is the zoom button. We can click on that and then we can select, let's just zoom on the part that we know is like reliable data. And now you can see, it's kind of ugly if I make it big, but I'll just, I'll do it anyway. It makes it really wide. This is our color magnitude diagram. So this is I magnitude and this is G minus I color. Basically, this is all noise pretty much at the faint end. This is basically the main sequence turnoff of the Milky Way disk. There are stars. There's a weird artifact of DP0 that you can ask about later, why these are like vertical stripes. But anyway, that's a very, very, very basic demo of retrieving a little bit of data and making a plot. There's a lot more that you can do in the portal, but I also want to show you a similar workflow in the notebook. So in this case, I clicked on the big box that says notebooks. Most of the time, for most uses, you'll just want the recommended weekly. You can see you can pick other versions of the science pipelines, but usually the recommended version is fine. And also typically a medium-sized container is fine. Sometimes you might need a larger one for some things that you're working on. And then when I do that, it's going to spin up a container for me that has the science platform already installed and available to you in the container. Hopefully it won't take too long. Okay. Now, when you first log in, your file tree over here on the left side will not look as crazy as mine. You will probably just have 2 folders, I think, but note that one of them is notebooks. And if you open that, there's a tutorial notebooks folder within that. This, at all times, has all of our tutorial notebooks preloaded for you. And they're updated whenever we make an update, they'll be automatically updated in your container. I'm going to, because those are fairly long tutorials, I'm gonna instead, what did I just do wrong with? I'm going to instead just go through a separate short notebook, which is why I apologized for making it hard to follow along, because this is sort of a custom little thing. But basically, I'm going to do a similar thing to what we just did. I'm going to extract some stars and plot a color magnitude diagram. Very simple. So the first thing you see in the import cell is you import from lsst.rsp, that's our RSP package. You import this get tap service, and tap service, the table access protocol, is what you use to access the database of catalogs. And so then once you've imported that get tap service, you just say get tap service, and then in quotes here, tap, and that'll point you to the DP 0.2 tap service. I'm gonna skip these first couple of cells. I'll show you what it does. Basically, this is a but in our intro to tap notebook, which is tutorial number 2, we have the same thing that shows you how to see what's in the different tables, see which tables are available, things like that. I'm gonna gloss over that right now and get to the fun, like sciencey looking stuff. Right, so I'm gonna go to this part. So we're going to look at what's called the object table. This contains unique objects which are identified in COAD images. So, we're going to then extract the G, R, I, Z, and Y band magnitudes. And again, we're gonna do that extendedness equals 0 cut to pick point sources, and then the cut to pick quality photometry. So the way you do that is this thing that looks kind of like SQL query language. This is ADQL. This is what we use to execute tap queries. So you see, it's always going to have a select statement, and then a from, and then if you like, a where clause that tells you what subset you want. So you're selecting some columns from the object table where it's within some circle of 1 degree in this case, and it's not extended, and the signal to noise is greater than 5 in each band. That's what this is saying, basically. So that's sort of the basic structure of any query is you say, select whatever columns you want from the table that you want, and then any filtering that you want to do on that. And so this cell is just creating that string query. And then you can see in the next cell, we just say, remember, we initialized that tap service. You just say service.search, and then pass it that query string that you just created. And then you wait patiently, usually not very long. And then the cell that I had below, it was commented out, but I just uncommented it so I can show you what that table looks like. You can see it. You have a little progress monitor over here showing you that it's still executing. There we are, finished. And we say, we execute that, and you can see that we retrieved 19,000 objects. We have the G, R, I, Z, Y magnitudes. I did gloss over this part, that there is a handy function built into the database architecture that will do that conversion from flux in nanojanskis to AB magnitudes. So I applied that as part of the query so that we actually get back magnitudes. Okay, so now we have our results table, and now you get to do the fun part of like making plots, exploring. So in this case, this is just using standard matplotlib functions, and we're just plotting G minus R magnitude, and on the y-axis I magnitude. And then you see on a second panel adjacent to it, we'll do I minus Z versus, or I guess it's I versus I minus Z. And if I execute that, you get something like this. And again, this is just your magnitude brighter going in that direction. This is just Milky Way disk main sequence stars here. These are nearby M dwarf stars. And these are all noise fluff at the bottom there. And that is the main thing I wanted to show you, is just that basic flow of how you grab data, what it looks like once you grab it. In case you didn't notice, the one step that I did here when I grabbed that query is I added this .toTable function at the end, and that basically extracts it so that now it's an AstroPy table. So if you're familiar with using AstroPy, this will be familiar to you. And then, here I'll show you just for fun, because we have it, we retrieved multiple, remember we retrieved GRIZY, so we could plot color diagrams. So RI, GR, or R minus Z versus G minus R, or even the very red Z minus Y, IZ. This is a standard sort of stellar sequence. Again, you can ask later why the M dwarfs are quantized, but I think, how are we on time? Do we go to till 10 till? Sorry, bad time.
We just would compress the Q&A a little.
I mean, I think I'm ready to stop now.
Okay.
So all's well. But I'll show you one quick thing before I stop. That ADQL query that we executed to pull those data, you can take that same query, which is here in this cell. I'm gonna just copy it. There we go. So this is the same query we did before. Now I can go back to the portal and go back to the search page for the portal. It's hard to read when it's zoomed out or zoomed in like that. Okay. And instead of using this query form here, I can click on the part up here where it says edit ADQL. And I can paste that query into the box there. And then when I click search down here, that will give me back the exact same data set that we just retrieved from within the notebook. By default, it's just plotting the first two columns, so G versus R versus G, I guess. But anyway, just wanted to show you that you can go back and forth with those queries. And the one other thing you can do is if you've executed a query here. So let me do this. These are still populated from when I executed before. But you can see this button at the bottom that says populate and edit ADQL. I think this will work, even though I had pasted that other one in. Yeah, that will turn that query form, the entries that you've put in that query form, into an ADQL query. So then you can go in and edit further on this before executing it. And I think that's all I wanted to share. I know it was kind of a whirlwind, very fast, but I just wanted to give a flavor of the types of things you can do in the RSP. Thanks.
I'm wondering, like, let's say I build a notebook and I want to share it with someone, or I want to send it to them. Is there a way to like download and send it and upload, or is there a way to put it somewhere that someone else can see it? Or like, I'm imagining, like, let's say I'm like, okay, you've built this notebook. How, can you throw it in Slack or something so that I can then do something with it? Or
yeah, there are multiple ways you could do that. You could, because you have your file browser here, you could create a folder, and then, if they send it to you, you download it and then you upload it. The other thing you could do is this is what you see when you first log in. You see this launcher, but you can always get to it by clicking the plus at the upper left. But from the launcher, you can see that you actually can launch a terminal. And so you could, for example, commit the notebook to a GitHub repo and actually like clone the repo. The other person can clone the repo and have it directly. So you have, this is just like a standard, sort of Unix command line. And I think, I'm not sure if I'm gonna give bad information, but do you remember where the scratch space went now?
Oh, Oh, I think you still, can you just use slash scratch?
Project Scratch?
Oh,
No, just
Scratch.
slash project.
Slash
Oh.
project, okay.
That's backed up and shareable, but I will say GitHub is like the recommended way
Yeah,
to use, GitHub repos to maintain and share resources.
I'd also say a third option is you could also right click on the file and you can download it.
oh yeah, I did leave out that part that if you want to share it with somebody, you can right click this file and there is a download option to download your file. As well as, if you created a catalog and saved it as a FITS file, you can download that from here. And you can also upload, which you can see this arrow at the very top. It says upload files. So yeah, those are the two easiest ways, I think.
So why are the M words quantized?
Thank you for asking. It's just because the simulations were done by the Dark Energy Science Collaboration, and the stars need to be there because they're sort of the screen through which you look at distant galaxies. They were simulated, but with not a lot of care, let's say, to accuracy. So they were basically, I think you can count it. I think these literally are like all of the spectral types, the right word, spectral classes. It's like M0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like you can, they were simulated at a fixed color. So the real world doesn't look spotty like that, as maybe you know.
We star people normally flip both of the axes and then you understand what you're seeing.
Yeah.
That's the way these are normally plotted for people who work on stars, not this way.
This is an artifact of Sloan.
That's
Yeah,
what.
this is totally the Sloan way of doing it.
Sloan started doing that. and-
Yep. Exactly. Any other questions? If you think of more, I'll be around during the coffee break right after too. And lots of other CST members.
So were these all point sources or are those objects below the stars, galaxies?
I think the answer, like this is maybe a good, I think the answer is that star galaxy separation thing, that extendedness cut that we did is not perfect. And so I think you're right that probably quite a bit of this is unresolved galaxies and some of it's noise.
You do see that as galaxies in deep surveys down there. That
Absolutely.
scatters down there.
I'm always battling those. They're always in the way of what I want to do. Any other quick questions? Okay.
Let's thank Jeff again for that. So we mentioned the Rubin Community Forum a few times in the slides that we presented at the start. Now I just want to take you on a brief tour and show you how to use it, because this is the main venue for user support. It is where you go when you run into trouble or you have questions about the data product or your science results aren't coming out like the way you thought. This is the place where you go to ask questions, and Rubin staff will help you. So I want to make sure that we're kind of all on the same page and we know how to use this. So when you point your browser to community.lsst.org, this is the landing page for the community forum. The banner up at the top is often collapsed, but you can expand it to see more. And this banner has a lot of information about how to use the forum. So it's got sort of the three main activities. You're asking questions, you're joining discussions, or you're using it to get news and stay informed. And so what we've done here is we've made lots of links right from this banner that take you to instructions for how to do those things. So you know, your life goes so great, years in, you've never had a question. 2 years from now, you come back and you land here and you're like, right, how do I even ask someone a question from here? Hopefully you'd see the ask a question, and there's the create a new topic right here. It's going to take you to, it's a topic or a thread on the forum that shows you exactly step by step what to do to open up a new issue and ask a question. And I'm going to show you that as well today, but the banner it'll always be here for you with all the links and all the how-tos. So that is the banner you see when you land. And if you keep scrolling down, you sort of see that the screen splits into two, and on one side it's all of the categories, and on the other side it's a list of the latest topics. So a category is sort of built up of many topics, and one topic is like is a post or a thread. There's sort of many words to refer to this thing that you post. So we call them topics. On the left, you have categories, and the support category, we put it right near the top. And that is the category where I'm gonna show you that you go there when you want to ask a question. But also the default view is over on the right. You just see what other people have been asking and talking about lately, always shows up there. So the right side is maybe a little less useful because it's just, I mean, you can see here, all of this has been just posted in the last couple of days. So that right side is constantly changing. Left side does not change. The categories will always be there. And that's a landing page, banner, categories, and the latest topics of what people have been talking about. Up in the corner, you'll have your little user profile stamp up there. And if you click on it, you get 4 options. But the first one I want to show you is your profile options. So it's this little icon of a little person here. So when you make a new account and you first log in, the first thing you're probably going to want to do is set up your profile a little bit. So you can come in here and choose preferences, and it takes you to your profile. So this is where you set your name, your picture. You can add sort of titles and join groups or not. You don't have to do any of that. You don't even have to use a real picture. You can just use the stock picture that comes with it, and that's fine. You can customize your account if you want to. And one of the other pieces of the preferences that's useful is to set your notifications. And so here you can see, you can really sort of fine tune how you like to be notified when things happen in the forum. I don't like pop-ups on my desktop, so mine are completely disabled. I prefer to get emails. They'll send me emails like if I made a topic and someone has replied. You can opt to have a pop-up in your browser. I prefer to get an email 15 minutes later if I'm not logged in. So there's a lot of customization that you can do in here to improve your own user experience and tailor it for yourself. So that's how you get there. Yes. So now I want to go, so you've got your account, you logged in, you set your profile picture, you're ready to go, you have a question, some kind of problem, I'm going to show you how to ask it. You're here and you want to ask a question. Let's say you've been working on data preview 0 and you ran into an issue with the data product, like the fluxes weren't what you expected, or you found that magnitudes were quantized and you didn't know why, for example. So you come to the forum and you're like, this is really weird. I don't know if I'm misinterpreting something. Naive questions are always welcome, right up until very technical questions. We welcome them all. It does not matter. So you would come here, you'd say, okay, so there's a support category and a data preview 0 category. And my question's about data preview 0, so I'll enter this category. And when you're in a category, you can see what category you're in. You have the option to, this little bell icon, you have an option to watch certain categories. I am watching the DP0 category because I like to help people with data preview 0. So I get notifications when people post in here. You don't have to watch at all. I think the default is probably normal. It will be your default for all categories. But I've come here because I have a question. So I want to post a new topic, and there's a new topic button here, and you'll get this little pop-up where you can write your questions. You would probably write something more intelligent than that, but you know, what's up with quantized colors? You're in the support data preview 0 category, that's great. Tags are, it says optional, they are very optional. We do have a tag, it's like a way to add another keyword to your topic, but they are optional. We don't tend to use them so much, so that's okay. So you might come here and you have that, and then you just start, you just start typing. Oh, you might start with a hello. Maybe start with a nice opening, and then I don't understand such and such. You can add code snippets. Just sort of like you would in Markdown, you use that here, and you can see that as I'm typing, it automatically formats on the other side. So you can, if you've run an ADQL query and it didn't return what you thought it would, you can paste the query in and tell us what you did get and what you expected, and that helps us. Screenshots are also very helpful. So maybe you want to drag and drop, this is a photo of the unconference board, but maybe you took a screenshot because you got some error message or something. Screenshot, drop it in. Hello, I don't understand. Here's some code, here's some screenshot. And then I won't create it, but you would click create topic. It gets posted. I am notified, and let's discard it. And you would see your new topic is going to show up at the top of this list now because you just posted a new topic in the support data preview 0 category. And what happens from there is the community science team sees it, other people see it, other Rubin staff see it, people start chiming in on, oh, I had the same problem, or I think this would answer your question. And so discussion continues. This looks like a pretty good example of, yep, someone had trouble, they described their problem. There was, some people started talking with them about their problem. And then we got to one topic, and this was the right answer. So in this case, the user saw this one and marked it as the solution. And so now that solution reply floats to the top, which is really nice. So you can see what the answer was for this particular issue. So that's how you ask a question. Just pop in, write it down, and then you get support that way. And then you mark the solution. Yep. Okay. So there's a couple more features of the forum. This is a community forum, so there are moderation protocols in effect. Sometimes the bots slip through and you'll see weird spammy advertisements, but we try to take care of those really quickly. But if you do see something then you think it's inappropriate, or it looks like an advertisement, or someone is being rude, and they're not following our code of conduct, there's ways that you can flag that post for review. So for example, we have a post in here, and if it was inappropriate in any way, there's this little flag icon underneath every single post, and you can click it and you'll get a bunch of options for flagging the post. I'm an administrator, so I have more options than you do as users. I can take action, I can kick them off immediately, that kind of thing. So you won't see take action. And I don't think you see send a personal message either. I think those are admin only, but you do get the rest of these. So you get to flag a post, you say it's off topic, it's not appropriate, and then we see it and we can moderate it, and we can make sure that people are removed from the forum. So far, it's mostly bots that we're moderating, not people, but do use that feature to keep our forum civil as we grow. So that is flagging a post. I will mention also, as we start to have more and more new users, there is an automatic flagging that tries to identify bots. So if we've seen it applied to people sometimes when they've drafted their question elsewhere. So like in a Google Doc, they've drafted their whole question, then they make an account, and 30 seconds later, they make a new full post that only took them 1 second, and then they click submit. It might think you're a bot and it might automatically flag your post, but we will see it and we will say, no, it's okay. This was very prepared and they're a brand new user. So just be aware that if your post is flagged, don't worry, we'll see it and we'll figure it out and get you sorted. Because there are some automatic flagging that's happening there. There may be times in the future where, so we absolutely welcome naive questions. You're not sure if it's the right place to post the question, just post it anyway. Everything like that, there's really no lower bar for asking a question, just do it. But in the future, there might be times where you can't ask a question without giving some really cool science away or something, or you really need confidential help with something. And in that case, we do have confidential support. So this particular topic will tell you how to ask a question confidentially, but you're basically sending a private message, like either to me or to a member of the community science team, and we will keep your message confidential. To send a private message in the forum, you go back to your profile up in the corner, there's a little envelope for your messages. You click it once, you get a list of recent messages. You click it twice, you're taken to your own little inbox within the community forum. And from here, you can create a new message. You can send it like to me, for example. And you can describe the nature of your question and why you think it needs to be confidential. And then we can either say, oh, if you just phrase it this way, then we can understand your problem, but you won't give yourself away and you can post it. Or we might say, yeah, we should just sort of help you without you having to post it. We haven't used this feature yet either. No one has had confidential questions yet, but we definitely anticipate that it's going to become more of an issue in the future. So that'll be the way that you would do that going forward. All right. So I mentioned a few times that the bar is very low. Just come, post your question. It is also possible to search the forum for people who have had similar questions to you as before. We do not expect that you go through the entire forum to see if someone has asked a similar question before. A little bit of duplication is fine. The forum is really meant to be more of like a real-time interactive help and support venue than some sort of documented collection of every problem that's existed so that you can find answers. So to never hesitate to just ask a question, but if you do want to do a quick little search for an error, you can come to the magnifying glass. This is a common one. If you're trying to use PyBio and you got a DAL service error, so you could come here, type in the error message that you're getting, and any relevant topics would pop up. So maybe you would find one that's already been solved. This one, notoriously, picked an error that actually we couldn't solve this for James. We think it's something about his local system that's giving this error, but in other cases, we have solved the DAL service error. Anyway, maybe that was a bad example, but this is one thing we didn't solve. But yeah, you might find a post where it has been solved. The last thing I wanted to show you is there are groups in the forum as well. So I showed you have a profile, you can set your preferences, that kind of thing. You can also join groups. These groups, essentially, they sort of function as a mailing list. So if you join a group, like you're a member of a science collaboration, you join the group for that science collaboration, your science collaboration chairs can send personal or direct messages to everyone in the group. That's sort of the primary function of groups. It also means you can message everyone on the community science team, for example, because we've got a group for that. And so you can message us all at once. So it's mostly the science collaborations that use the groups, and they can also give access to private categories. So some of the categories that we have here, for example, the science collaborations have a private category that's only accessible to members of the group, and they maintain their groups and they post like meeting notes in their private category, for example. So it's definitely not necessary to use the forum to join any groups. I just wanted to point out that they do exist, and that's their essential function for most of the groups. You are, as you join the forum, as you start to read posts and reply to others and to make new topics, your trust level increases, and you have access to more things. Like if you've been on the forum for a while and you've been replying to posts and making new topics, I think if you reach trust level 3 from time spent in the forum, you get to make your own tags or something. Like you get little, achievement unlocked, you get little badges and stuff. So you can gamify it a bit, but it really doesn't impact like the core use case of just posting topics, asking questions. One more thing, so we did cover very briefly watching categories, and I just want to point out that the news category is a really good one to watch because they're very consistent like Rubin news updates that get posted in here, advertisements for workshops get posted in here. So coming and making sure you're watching the news category is really useful. Only Rubin staff post to the Rubin news category. So it's very limited set of news, but there's also an open announcements category under science that lets anyone announce to them. So it's like an advertisements category and you can set yourself, you can see I'm not watching this one, I meant to be. So now I am watching the science announcements category as well. So this is a place where you can come and advertise your event or opportunity also in the forum. And the very last thing, because that's sort of the end of the quick tutorial, but if you want to learn more or know more, there are all of these how-to topics. They all exist in there's a meta category. It's way down at the bottom. So if you have questions about how the forum works, you can come to the meta category and ask your question there. And also you'll find lots of instructional posts in the meta category about how the forum works. And there's also a tutorial. There's a, where is it? DiscoBot. Tina made this tutorial a while ago. Yeah. User tutorials by DiscoBot, your discourse friend. Discourse is the platform that the forum runs on. And so you can interact with DiscoBot and like get little questions about the forum, and it takes you through most of the stuff that I already showed you today of like how to start things. So that's fun too. So that's a how-to that should get you up and running and hopefully lowers any nervousness or barriers that you had about posting to the forum. Any questions that I can take about the forum? In the room, or anyone else in the Zoom? You can see hands up.
Yeah, I can see it. I don't see any right now.
And in the Slack.
I don't see anything there either.
Final call for forum questions. Yeah, go ahead, Riley. And thank you for coming to the mic.
So I was wondering if you post a topic to the forums and somebody submits a solution and it gets marked as solved, but then maybe later on a new issue arises, but kind of related to the same topic. Is there a way to like reopen that issue, or is the best practice to like submit a new issue?
Yeah, so best practice is to start a new topic.
Okay.
We haven't made it the setting, so we could make it the setting that once a topic has a solution, it's closed to more conversation. I'm still thinking about doing that because it's easier for us to make sure all questions get answered, because sometimes questions get buried. Right now, the volume is low enough that we notice when a topic becomes active again, and so we're able to answer them. And sometimes in this case, as an admin, I can see the thread of all the posts and I see the solution, and then I see a new question. I can take that question and make it a new topic for the person who's posted it. So for now, I'm not going to force close a topic just because it has a solution, because I think people still like to just say, oh, I don't know if this is the right place, but I'm just going to post it here. So I want to, just get people used to using the forum. So it's fine to do that for now. Jeff.
Oh, I was just gonna add that, and you could also, if you broke off into a new post, you can link to any of the topics on the community forum, so you could link to the previous topic.
Great, okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. Any other forum related? All right, good. Hope to see you on there. Hope to see lots of good questions. All right, that takes us to, we just wanted to use the last 20 minutes as a very general Q&A. So we have a couple of prompts, like any resources that you anticipate needing that we didn't really cover today, or any issues in access or using the ones that we did cover. And then if there are, so I'll sort of just open the floor at that. And if there's no general questions, that is fine. I will give you the chance to leave and have 15 minutes of your life back, which is always like welcome. If you would like to, you've come in groups. If you would like to call one of the CST members over and just tell them a little bit about what you're gonna do with Rubin, or ask them your questions you didn't wanna ask in the room, or we will do that. So yeah, so I think take a moment to pack up if you'd like to, but also I think we will just sort of circulate and wander. If you're still sitting, we're gonna come and say hi to you. So
Should we
so-
identify ourselves?
Yeah, so it's me,
CST
Jeff,
members? Oh,
Tina, Greg, Douglas, Gloria. Yeah, we will circulate. So if you stay sitting, we're gonna come and say hi. We'll finish up that way. Yeah, thanks, everybody.
Alright.
Yeah.